back to week 8 of the European LCS here from Cologne, Germany. Joining me, of course, is Jason and the Tess. First of all, Tess, how are things going from your side this weekend? Happy with the performances so far?
I'm really happy with the team's performance so far. I mean, we've gone 2 for 2 so far against Giants and Dragonborns, so it's going really well. We have last game of the day against Gambit, and hopefully that'll go well. I'm not so sure though. Last week wasn't so good, but hopefully.
Do you guys feel after that last game you prepared enough for this weekend or against them?
I feel like we did. We prepare extensively for every team, especially a team like Gambit. Was kind of hard to prepare against Dragonborns because we weren't sure what they were going to do, but I feel like we did.
Okay, well let's get down and dirty and right to it because we don't have a lot of time. I want to talk about this because we always mention as casters, there was like a weight lifted off your shoulders when Bjergsen finally came into the team, and it seemed like you just flourished from that as a player. Can you kind of talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, when Bjergsen wasn't on the team, it's just not the same. Like, I was kind of the person to focus, I guess, for the other teams, and I got ganked a lot, I got focused a lot, and when Bjergsen came into the team again, besides the obvious, like, we can talk Danish again and stuff, he just draws a lot of attention. He draws a lot of players on him, and that frees up a lot of space for me to do my job a lot easier than when he's not there.
Okay, and we've seen you play a lot of a couple different champions lately, but VAR seems to be your main AD champion to go with. Can you kind of explain like why you like him? Like, does he fit your playstyle perfectly, or is he just ridiculously overpowered right now?
Varus is pretty ridiculous, I think. Like, he does so much damage. He has the stun. His ultimate is so good in teamfights. He stuns everyone. You just have to hit one person. He just provides a lot of utility. He provides the damage, everything. You don't even have to do well. He's still going to do a lot. So,
okay,
he's pretty safe.
I actually asked on Twitter if people had questions from you. And one that came up a couple of times is, where's the nickname, the Tess? Where does it come from?
Oh, that's a bad one.
It can't be as bad as my old nickname. Come on.
That is pretty bad, Jason. So it's basically my dog is called Tess, and it was an inside joke between friends. I called myself this, and then all of a sudden I got sort of known, and the name just stuck. I was like, now I can't change my name. It just started out as a joke, so it stuck.
I guess it's as good of an excuse of any. I mean, I don't even want to know how Jason... Actually, I do know how Jason got his name, but it's not something that we'd like to talk about.
Something romantic.
He's now just Jason. Yeah, exactly. Something romantic. Very sweet.
Oh.
But talk to us about your game against Gambit coming up later on. What do you do to prepare for a top team like Gambit?
Well, basically, we look at their games. We look at our past experience with them. We try to predict what they're gonna do, and well, obviously we have to focus on what we want to do on our own playstyle. But it's mostly trying to predict what they're gonna do and trying to counter that.
And another question from Twitter here. Obviously, your former support, XL Winner, left the team, and Deficio came in. What was the reasoning behind that whole switch?
So me and Winner weren't working that well together. There was some communication problems. We had to talk English for a while. That was also a problem for Winner. So we felt like we came to sort of a breaking point 3 weeks before the LCS qualifiers where we kind of had to do something. So we decided to bring in Deficio and see how it went, and it actually went a lot better. And from there, it's just gone really well. Yeah.
And speaking of that, and taking it a little bit further, because this would be perfect to talk about in that situation, against Authority, Keralis, or Dio came in for Keralis, and they've seemed to be like a completely different team. Like, what's your thoughts on that? And how does changing a support really affect you as an AD carry? Like, because it has to be really hard with synergy.
You need the synergy. I mean, the synergy was there a lot more with Deficio for me, and it seems like it is that way with Nono as well. Obviously, they're both French, so it should be pretty natural for them. Other than that, might be he's bringing calls to the table as well that Keralis wasn't. That happens often. That happened with us, and that can bring a whole lot of new stuff to the table and some new plays.
Are you afraid of against Authority at all now with their new lineup?
I don't think we have any more games against them. We try not to be afraid of any team though in the LCS. So I wouldn't say so, but they definitely look a lot stronger.
Okay. Talk to us a little bit finally here about your whole situation with the team here in Cologne. Do you have a team house? How are things going, in Cologne life?
We don't currently have a team house. We were supposed to have one. I don't know how long ago, but every single thing they're doing keeps falling through. So we don't have a team house right now. So we have a bye week next week. So we're gonna go home for 2 weeks now, actually, to Denmark.
Is it going to be a lot of practice on your off week, or is it literally a holiday week, time to chill a little bit?
We're gonna have to practice a lot for the Super Week. We want to do really well in Super Week, so there's gonna be a lot of practice for sure.
Well, Tess, thanks a lot for joining us here. Good luck in your game later on against Gambit. So it's time for our penultimate match of the night: SK versus Giants with Freak and Quickshot.
Thank you very much, Joe. And of course, we have an awesome match in front of us. It really is going to be very, very good. Giants, ever since week 1, were known as the Giant Killers. If they ever can find these crazy out-of-nowhere victories, it's against the top 4 teams. They haven't looked amazing this weekend so far. They've had a couple of rough spots. Yeah, sure, they come out 0-2 against SK, but they have the ability to just like take down big teams and just impress out of nowhere. They're the one team I can't count out of any match.
It's the truth. It's one of the teams that you don't expect to win, and they have done it in the past with some surprises, but they need to find some way to pull out a victory here against SK Gaming, because the 2 matches that we have seen from them this weekend have been very, very one-sided affairs for their opponents.
Yeah, exactly. And you look at like their competition in the standings as well, and you realize that Copenhagen Wolves are looking pretty good overall. Against Authority went 2-1 this week. They're looking pretty good overall. Giants are sitting at 0-2 on the weekend so far, if I remember properly. So, you know, both in terms of fighting SK and that being a hard matchup, but also in terms of fighting for their LCS lives, they're in a really, really rough spot as well. And the story that I can just think of for these guys is, can you pull it together?
Yeah, and they're a couple of losses away from Dragonborn, so they are sitting at the bottom of the table.
Yeah, so we're going to see what ends up happening with these guys. Now, let's actually take a quick break to look at the lineups for these 2 teams, because of course we're going to see them on the battlefield soon. Samix in the top lane, Morden in jungle, Exeter in the mid, and Jim Bones and Babetta still the AD carry and support.
And of course, for SK Gaming, Kevin, Hercubot, Ocelot, Candy, Panda, and Nif. Now, if Giants have been able to bounce back from their crushing defeats against the Copenhagen Wolves and against All Authority, they may be able to put themselves in a good position. Talking about SK, they were, stomped by Fnatic yesterday, but they did manage to bounce back and pick up a victory against EG in arguably a match that gives you a lot of confidence, because they were winning team fight after team fight after team fight. And as you've rightly pointed out, they are currently 2-0 against the Giants.
And this is really interesting to see, like, how the teams fare strategically, because and how they fare mentally as well, because they're actually, I think they're both emotional teams.
Yeah.
Right. We heard it in some of the manager interviews or the interview with the SK CEO, where Ocelot is. He's an emotional player, and if he starts winning, he starts playing better. If he starts losing, he just like loses all hope and has like a really rough week overall. And Giants, right? Again, I want to talk about them because they're a team that could out team fight Gambit, and like I want that to sink in everybody. They out team fought Gambit. Like what? Right? This is a bottom 4 team who's out team fighting the team known for team fighting. The word team is said a lot in that sentence, but it's worth pointing out. The problem is, they fall apart when they're down early.
Yeah.
They absolutely fall apart when they're down early. So to me, the most important thing here is the early game matchup. And so let's talk about some people who can affect the game overall on an individual level, and we'll start with the Giants mid laner, Exterminare.
All right, so Exterminare, of course, known for his Castellan and Ryze play, has been relatively successful with Zyra as well of late. We'll see how he plays out. He does tend to draw some bans. So he's run Ryze in both matchups against SK Gaming, and in the second game that they played, he did have a positive KDA, even though they lost that matchup. So we'll see, if he decides to pull Ryze again out against Ocelot. Something else he's very, very well known for is, of course, those teleport ganks. And it is the teleport that really, really helped him secure victories against Gambit. He plays that chaotic map game, where he's all over the place, teleporting towards and really putting pressure on them. And, of course, yesterday, he lost very, very, very hard to Bjergsen's Twisted Fate when playing Diana.
And it's interesting as well because Oslo had the exact same matchup against Xpeke and had a similarly rough result, so that'll be kind of interesting. But, of course, if the Giants are to avoid a cataclysmic defeat, they have to watch out for SK Gaming's jungler, Hercubot.
best potential setup ever because of the fact that Hercupod is playing so much Jarvan the Fourth. Time and time again, his cataclysms have been on point, and he really will need to disrupt the strong early laning phase of the Giants. We talked about how difficult it is for the Giants to play from behind, and if Hercupod is on point and puts the Giants behind, it immediately puts them in a very good position. If he can help out Ocelot in the mid lane, that's also a positive factor because Ocelot is a snowball player.
Yeah.
He needs to get items, he needs to get confidence, and he needs to start doing well before he can actually continue doing well.
Yeah, and especially when you consider how Exterminari plays as well. He plays Assassins or Rise. He plays guys who scale with gold to do more damage. Like, if you're Twisted Fate, we heard Pekka talk about it, Alex Itch talk about it. If you fail a bit as TF, you can still come back and land gold cards. Kassadin, Kha'Zix, Rise, not so much.
Yeah.
Like, you've got to do well to get that game going. Now, SK know that the Giants, SK knowing that the Giants are low in the standings doesn't mean they aren't a threat. As we wind down to the last 2.5 weeks, these guys have had to come up with some new strategies. Let's see what these teams had to say about their opponents.
Jugamos Precios SK ese jungler, francés jungler, y desde afuera parece que controla mucho la partida.
I think Giants is the kind of team that can beat every single team and can lose against every single team. They're kind of not so regular, not so constant.
Contra ellos no hemos hecho al respecto. Lo que estamos cambiando nuestro estilo y que nos ayude en todas las partidas contra todos los equipos. No nada concreto contra ellos.
Of course they can beat us and we have to watch out so much. We have to read them, we have to study them, and we have to know what to pick and what to ban against them to succeed. We need to do a very good game, of course.
All right, well, you heard it from Ocelot. They know what they need to do to win this game. And, you know, if you're 2-0 against the team overall and you're Spanish yourself, I think there's a good chance that Ocelot might just have them red.
Yeah, it's also one of the situations where the Spanish players and the Spanish teams, they tend to know each other very well. I know for a fact that Babette and Expected, for example, they talk a lot. They actually duo queue together. So they know one another as personalities. You heard in the matchup, Giants actually saying, look, Hercupod's their most dangerous player because they realize that as a team, if they get behind from the jungler, it puts them at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
I want to touch on Morden in the jungle for the Giants. He's somebody that's been trying new champions, has been playing a different set of junglers to what everybody else has been doing. Unfortunately, not picking up wins with those junglers means he's not getting the recognition for being an innovator, but he's the only one that's really going against the current right now of the Diamond Procs jungle meta.
Sure, and I mean, if there's one got to follow in terms of jungle champions, Diamond is the one, and certainly it's working for most of these guys. I do want to see it work out, though, right? I want to see Morden pick up some wins, at least more than they have already. So, hopefully it works out for the Giants. I'm just, thinking about these teams, though, right? We kind of go back to it. The early game is just, it just seems to be SKs.
Yeah,
like it's the one part.
I agree with that. I also feel like the ability to control the lane is definitely going to be in favor of SK if they manage to get the right picks. Because if they give away the likes of Zyra to Babetta, again, it's going to put them in a negative spot. When we seen him playing it earlier today, he still had some very good ultimates, even though they lost their matchup. Babetta is really key to setting them up, giving them control, So we'll see how that plays out. The one thing Giants cannot afford to do is poor decision-making if they do fall behind, because they tend to get very closed up, clammed up. They tend to not go for objectives, not push for team fights. They literally feel aimless on the map, and that's the best way to describe it.
That's the one thing that, on the contrary, I've seen Gambit do so incredibly well is no matter if they're winning or losing, they viciously control every single dragon. If you look at any of their wins or losses where they were behind early game, one of the key examples is versus Copenhagen Wolves, actually, from just a week or so back, down a number of kills, equal on gold because they're 5-0 on dragons. And that's kind of the sort of things you have to keep going, is even if you're losing on kills, you can pull it back. You see what Peke said about, their rough early game against All Authority, rough early game, controlled objectives, still pulled it back, stopped making mistakes. And Giants need to learn that skill set.
Yeah, and they need to learn it very quickly. There are only 2 weeks of games left, with this being the second last matchup of today. We are having just a little bit of computer issues for the time being with the SK members. So we did actually start picks and bans, and then somebody dropped out immediately. So we do apologize about the small delay, but we will get this match up and running very soon. In terms of what is actually at stake in this game, there's not a whole lot in terms of the teams, because even if SK Gaming lose, they are still going to be safe in that third position for now. They find themselves 12 wins and 9 losses in the season. So if they lose, they'll go 12-10, tied with losses for Evil Geniuses, and only 2 or 3 behind the 5th, 6th, 7th place. So it's still within touching reach of their opponents.
Okay, and that's going to be interesting to see, right? As the season race winds down, and you heard the Fnatic Wolves, I think I just said, the Copenhagen Wolves saying, they've got a bye week next week, so for some of these teams, there's only 1 week left to play the game, right? Only a few matches left for these guys. And so you start winding down and realizing there's a just very small number of games left to play for each team. And, us talking in the future saying, well, if they lose, they're still only 1 game away. Well, 1 game is like 20% of the season for some of these guys. And that's a significant number. And so these races get tighter and tighter and tighter. We start actually, Trevor and I did a bunch of math last night to figure out the farthest that teams could go, either up or down in the standings. And you're so late in the season, for example, that Dragonborns can't touch the top 2. Fnatic, at the very least, will make the playoffs, even if they lose the rest of their games. And of course, we'll have more for you as the game goes, as the day goes on and as the weeks go on. We'll get you could follow your favorite teams more and more certain with more certainty to know where they might end up.
Now it's going to be interesting to note. You said that the Copenhagen Wolves have a bye week next weekend, and of course the fact that they have that the last week in week 10 is a super week here. Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I think there's 20 games that weekend alone. Yeah. The Copenhagen Wolves are going to have a weekend worth of information and knowledge and games to spectate, to then come in and surprise. They have that week to theorycraft, to think, to plan, and it's definitely going to play into their favor if they can make it work. If you're sitting on the Giants side of the coin, you are sitting in 7th position right now, 6 wins and 13 losses. Tied for losses with Copenhagen Wolves, but 3 wins less. So your win percentage is just below that 50% at the moment.
Yeah, and realize, also you kind of talked about the getting the week to prepare and all that. Realize that not all these teams are in Cologne, right? You look at Gambit and Copenhagen Wolves as big examples. The flights back, getting set up, getting, not necessarily like reacclimated to being at home, but just the extra travel time where you're not 20 minutes away from your house again. That extra week to not travel, it actually helps these guys a little bit as well. And so, again, I think the key example here is Gambit, where they normally fly around for events a heck of a lot. They have the international exhibition in Dallas about a month back. Their flights back are sometimes so long. Like, I think Edward's pretty out of the way, and it's like multiple layovers for him. And so he doesn't even get to like play the next day at all. Right? He'll leave Sunday night or Monday morning, and then Tuesday practice starts. And then, well, they got to be back for Friday or Saturday. And that can be rough. So the Wolves, I mean, this is their time to just like super refocus and be ready to go.
And it's definitely, they're peaking at the right time. So we'll see how they perform, because they will be playing against Gambit in the very last match of the day. The 2 teams that still continue traveling each in every week. And there's just this general consensus that, the Wolves can maybe win that game. Right now, though, as we said, we are still working just on a technical issue. We should hopefully have this matter resolved very, very quickly. And hopefully we can get the Giants and SK Gaming back underway. This is the 3rd time these 2 teams will have met. Giants do have first pick, first ban. They are on the blue side of the matchup. And SK Gaming will be wearing the red trunks for this particular match.
Trunks indeed. And of course, we've fixed all the issues. The players said ready. We have the champion select now underway for our 5th game of the evening. Giants in blue, SK in red. Kale and Jarvan have been banned out, and the Kennen banned out on the other side, shockingly against Jim Bones.
Yeah, no real surprise there. Looking through the rest of the bans, you've got Jarvan and Nasus being targeted there at Hercubot, taking it away from him. They do not want Ocelot playing Kale either, so getting rid of that intervention, getting rid of that powerhouse in the mid lane. We know that Jim Bones playing Kennen is his sort of go-to AD carry. I managed to talk to him a little bit during the week, and he says he likes to fall back to champions like Ashe, but it doesn't really fit at the moment, doesn't have quite as much damage as they need, and it doesn't really fit his team's playstyle either. So we'd like to see, who he decides to lock in for this matchup.
I am actually very intrigued by the Kale ban, because I don't characterize that as a must ban against SK. It feels like a specialized ban, like a counter ban. So I'm curious to see what Giants actually run in their composition because of that.
Well, one of the things that Kale does counter really incredibly well is those burst comps, people who go down very, very quickly. So if Giants wanted to run somebody like a Zed or get somebody bursty like Lux, who is still currently available, obviously removing Kale from that will obviously give them the ability to do so. They did, however, leave both Shen and Thresh available. That means Nif is going to be on, I think it's the Chain Warden, if I remember correctly, and Kevin will be going back to his, his top lane Shen, who he's just been so unmovable with this season.
All right, well, we'll see what ends up happening, of course. Being an immovable object, always nice overall. And I think Kevin's been really on point this week as well. His Rumble was the MVP.
It was mind-blowing.
It was ludicrously good. It was amazing. Giants are looking at a couple of slightly different picks here. Another tanky lineup here. We have seen Babette's Alistair before, and this is what he's looking at right now. Of course, we do know it's going to be Volibear jungle almost definitely. And it's in the insta-lock onto Kassadin, blindly saying, SK, counterpick me, I dare you.
So Giants deciding to go with the Kassadin in the mid lane. Extra's going to potentially be counterpicked here. We'll see how or if Ocelot decides to do that, who he decides to run. When Alex was playing it, he picked Ari into that matchup, so we'll see how that one plays out. And you were talking about the Alistair pick. We have seen him a couple of times in the EU LCS to not much success. He hasn't been used particularly effectively, so I'd like to see how that plays through, how it plays out. It does look like that Zed's been locked in, so Ocelot feeling that Zed could potentially be the counter to that Kassadin. He obviously has the burst potential and some pretty good range, being energy-based with those shurikens. He can keep out of range of those null spheres from Kassadin.
This will be interesting overall because I think Zed's landing pace is definitely stronger. His early landing is really good. Kassadin's early landing sucks pretty hard. But when you actually hit level 6, it's interesting because he can rift walk away from the death mark and, depending on timing, dodge all the damage. Yeah. Like, maybe he can get, like, shot with the Blade of the Ruin King or something like that. But realistically, he could dodge almost all of it or pull him into a turret or all kinds of interesting things. So I'm intrigued to see what comes out of that match if they fight head-to-head.
Yeah, just the fact that he can put distance between himself and that Shadow Clone just is so important. At the moment, we do see that both Rumble and Vayne have now been locked in for the Giants. So Jimbone's going to be playing Vayne again. I think the last time we seen him on Vayne was about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and it was a fairly uninspiring performance, if I recall correctly. So I want to see how well he's going to be playing with this hyper carry. There is a fair amount of protection for him, though, in the form of Alistair, Rumble, and of course Volibear. So they're going to play those meat shields, put a good equalizer down for zone control, and allow Jimbones to freely tumble in and out of battle, use that stealth up, and really try and sort of kite his opponents. But if he does get caught by Zed, he's in trouble.
Oh, interesting. So they've grabbed Fizz, which makes me think Jungle Shen, Fizz mid, Zed top. We've seen Zed jungle actually as a possibility as well. I've even seen Fizz jungle, to be fair, so I won't call it completely, but that's my guess, my blind guess here.
Fizz's passive is awesome in the jungle, reducing damage from neutral minions monsters.
It makes it pretty strong overall. What I'm surprised by for Giants, though, is they don't have like a Lulu or a Soraka or a Janna or anything to stop Zed from one-shotting Vayne. Like, we normally always see Lulu against Zed if you can help it, because the shields and the health just help you survive that one. So I'm curious to see if that ends up burning him out.
Now, Lulu was actually available and decided not to be picked up here. Yeah. So that save your carry option is not available. At the time being, it does look like Ocelot wants to be playing Fizz in that mid lane to go up against Kassadin, and they've given Kevin Zed up in the top lane to face off against Samux's Rumble. So a lot of assassins, a lot of damage in this game, and it's definitely going to be a case of whoever gets ahead in the early game is probably going to roll through into the mid and the late game. The one thing we have to keep our eyes on is Hercubot Shen. If anything goes wrong once they hit 6, Hercubot, the man on your screen right now, will be using that Stand United to save his teammates, to dive into those fights with that shield and completely turn it around. And that's something that Giants do not have. They don't have that, oh my gosh, I'm in trouble, please help. But
no, Giants are for melee. Giants do not have great turret sieging. They don't really have poke anyway. Giants are a team that have to go all in to fight. I mean, it basically looks like the comp that Gambit had against Giants, where they have to run in there, have a range to carry, but everyone runs in there and gets kited around and messed with a bunch of crowd control. And now Giants are the ones full melee. SK, they've got Zed can dash around, Shen can shield someone, Ocelot can dash around on Fizz, Candy Panda on Varus has a bunch of crowd control, so does Nif on Thresh. Like, even if Giants get ahead, SK have this lineup that can kite back and turn things around. honestly, to me, this looks difficult for Giants.
It's going to be entirely up to those early few minutes.
Yeah.
If they can get ahead, they can stay ahead. If, exactly like you said, they are unable to, pick up any sort of early advantage or pick up any sort of item or kill lead, then all the tools are there for SK to make use of to keep them at arm's reach, to keep them away from them in these team fights. So it's going to be an exciting one. Two ninjas on the side of SK Gaming with Zed and with Shen. That obviously means that that blue buff is going to be very prioritized for Ocelot's Fizz. And if they manage to get any sort of advantage, they can actually start transferring some of the blue buffs around. Varus can do very well with it, continue spamming out those piercing arrows, keeping the hail of arrows, the rain of arrows down as well. So a lot of interesting things, but Ocelot running Barrier and Ignite on his Fizz, a mirror of yesterday's Alex performance.
That is actually the general pick here for Fizz. Actually, back in Season 2, Tabs would run Ignite Heal. It was just, I already have Playful Trickster. I can already dash around and get away from most things. All I really want are fight stats, so I can all-in you, take an extra turret shot or two, tank your counterattack a little bit more, and force you away. Because Flash doesn't do a whole lot against Fizz. He's got a lot of dots, he's got a lot of chasing, so he's like, yep, I just want things that keep me in a duel doing well, and that's his game plan here.
Well, we'll see how it does pan out. We are into this matchup after the small delay. You can only apologize again about once more. It is Giants in the blue corner facing off against SK Gaming in the red corner. Immediately out the gate, SK Gaming are moving with intent towards this bottom blue buff to either defend or invade. Hercubot is moving very, very quickly for the time being. I'm taking a look, still has not put any points into any of his abilities, and SK doing something a little unorthodox. They're sneaking into this bush, waiting to see if they can catch anybody out. I had a quick look. Nif has put a point into his death sentence, so that CC is available. Giants, however, sensing something's up, or maybe doing something fishy of their own, they are deciding to invade on the SK blue buff.
Well, this is kind of the burden of SK. They've played so many games as a team. There's so many VODs available. They've got to do something different almost every time they look for a jungle invade. And so they've done that. They've come around the side. They've done it completely blind. And they got very good ward coverage over the bottom jungle. However, they're going to walk right into Giants. They see SK.
This is very, very scary. There's full vision. Hercubot's about to face check level 1.
And there we go. The silence is on. Hercubot takes a bunch of bursts. He gets taken down. First blood goes to the AD carry. Babetta running away. He's going to get taken down, though. Kevin flashes the wall. Now Extra forced to flash away as well. The damage comes out from Candy Pan. A double kill for the AD carry for SK. Now Morden running back. It's a 4-on-3. Where's it going to be? Morden still running. Chunks of health potions. Still getting chased around and only has a point in his slow. Not anything else. Ocelot misses the jump. Oh, the death sentence whiffs as well. Morden has got away from this one. Of course, SK came out 2-1 despite the first blood, and they will not find another kill here.
2-1, and take a quick look at the summoner spells that have been used there. Nif, Flash Ignite down, Candy Panda, Flash down, Ignite down on Ocelot. Flashes on everybody for SK is down. Over on the other side, Jimbo still has Flash and Barrier available, as are the flashes on Samux and Morden. So, SK get the kill advantage. It's a double kill to their AD carry, whereas first blood goes to Jimbo's Vayne. They do manage to steal the red buff away as well and get out relatively unscathed. So overall, advantage SK.
Oh, that is absolutely massive. You can see a 200 gold lead for them. Morden gets his own blue buff. Hercubot's getting his own red right now. It's 2-1 as far as jungle camps are concerned, 2-1 as far as kills are concerned. And SK, ooh, nice dodge there by Jimbones, but you can see he's even 2-1 in lane.
Yeah, 2-1 in lane. That's the story of the introduction right now. Well played by Jims to, at the very least, pick up that first blood in that level 1 engagement. But I think SK's meatball was a little tighter stacked, and they managed to get out very, very effectively when they were in trouble. Interestingly, neither Kevin nor Ocelot used their Fortitude elixirs, which both of them have available, so deciding not to go for that. And if you look at Hercubot, he's picked up 2 wards, and just to really get some additional vision after that early start.
And there we go, Hercubot fourth and final blue buff of the game. Hercubot grabbing that blue buff quite easily. The 2v2 now heads up in the bottom lane. Of course, First Blood did give Jimbones the chance to grab up Boots of Speed as well as a couple of potions. But of course, 3-14 in minions. Candy Panda is much stronger here.
Yeah, and he's got to be so incredibly careful. A single death sentence will be the end of him, because when you combo the damage from that death sentence passive as well as a piercing arrow, the blighted quiver stacks, and the hail of arrows, it's going to be a dead Vayne. She's not a particularly tanky champion, and even with the healing that comes down from Alistar, it's not going to be a lot. SK feeling very confident. They're very, very deep behind the lines. They've got some vision. Morden and Hercubot are around, though. The death sentence lands.
And it's going to be a 3-on-3 because Jimbo's pulled in, but both junglers are nearby. Where's it going to be? Candy Panda going a little bit aggressive, but when Shen shows up, they say, nah, we can't dive back into this one. Candy Panda actually did pull turret aggro because of its red buff, but Morden is here to keep his team alive. Jimbo's just forced to try to regenerate. Actually hasn't chugged a health potion yet, which surprised me a little bit because he's low on health right now. But SK are still grouping up, pushing down onto this turret, and look how far back Jimbones has to play because he does not want to get bursted out. His barrier is down, Flash is up.
9 CS to 28 at the moment. He just picked up his 10th one. The 3v3 is still there, and the death sentence lands into Babetta, but wisely, Nif decides to back away. All 3 potions have been now drank for Jimbones, and he has decided to stick in lane. I feel like he was really considering whether or not to use those potions, or if he wanted to just recall. In the mid lane, Ocelot catches out Extra.
It's a lot of damage, but Extra finds a whole heck of a lot back. His barrier is up, though he baits it out. Is it going to be enough damage for Extra? He jumps up and down, and Ocelot finds the kill, and of course had dropped minion aggro as a result, and just gets out for free.
Now in the bottom lane, Hercubot is sniffing around. He has still not left. He's sitting in the grass. He's stealing away the double golems. He may decide to, go for a dive if they can get a good death sentence, especially with Jimbones being so low. I wonder if Hercubot's got vision. He will get it shortly, and they've got to be so incredibly careful. Ocelot played patient in the mid lane to pick up that kill, used every ability to the utmost, and managed to pick up his third kill for SK Gaming. Jimbones is in trouble here.
All right, watch for his flash. He's got to flash the dash from Hercubot. He's going to go in for this one, pushes them backwards. Where's it going to be? He does flash that one. He's going to get out for now. Lantern comes out. Nice headbutt from Babetta. Jimbones staying in the battle, and they're going to be fine.
Here comes Morden.
This is going to be close. The death comes out, does not land onto the big scary bear, but they might go back in. They're going to look for Nif. He's been knocked back, but it might just be enough to go in anyway. The dash comes across, does not find Jimbones yet. Morden gets the kill, and here comes Exterminari looking to exterminate Hercubot. Knocks him right back across. Well, beautiful stun comes out, and that's all the damage they need. Double kill for Giant, 3-3.
Awesome counterplay there from Giants. Not only was Morden where he needed to be at the right time, Extra roamed down as well. He tried to get back in lane after being taken out by Ocelot, but managed to be there, picks up an assist, helps out Jimbones to give him his second kill of the matchup and try make up that deficit of 25 CS in the bottom lane. So a good attempt by SK, but they definitely did not have the damage or the item advantage to pull off that aggressive early start, and it costs them 2 deaths that maybe they should not have given away.
Yeah, so what you're seeing right here now is a 400 gold difference, even though kills are equal, and in fact, first blood even went in Giant's favor. So SK, the story of this game right now is, I don't want to say necessarily mechanical superiority, but certainly better minion killing that has led them to the gold lead so far. And I want to see how this game pans out. Extra forced to last hit on a turret. We'll see how that pans out.
And it definitely has a factor play. The champions that they have decided for in this match. Fizz is always going to be stronger than Cassidy in the opening levels. Going to have the ability to dive in and out. More than having a little bit of a boogie there. But, the ability to dive in and out with that Urchin Strike, jump out to safety. You can see that Ocelot is level 6. He has Chumma Waters available, as is his Ignite. Is he going to go aggressive? Because it looks like he wants to. But he needs to be a little bit careful as the big scary bear is just around the corner.
Yeah, also had to sit back for a long time right there. The minion wave was frozen right onto Extra's turret, and Ocelot couldn't do anything about that. He knew if he got in too close, he'd get jumped on and get CC chained. It was just getting kicked by Volibear, so he played it far, far back and waited for the wave to push back out. Now it's in no man's land again. We'll see if Giants can force anything.
Morden has only just decided to back away from that mid lane. He lost a lot of time for CS. I do not even think he was within experience range there either. So, it's going to put him a little bit behind. But luckily, he already has a 10 CS lead over Hercubot. Nif and Candy Panda are trying to set something up. You can see just waiting for that death sentence to wind up. 0.5 second channel time on that missile. And of course, he can cast it when looking any direction. It's the only spell in the game that you can wind up facing left, but fake out and throw right.
See if that ends up being a big deal overall. And then you do throw it from the brush where they're blind in the first place. But this is a ward in this brush here, so they will see that Nif is around. A ward in the Chain Warden's brush.
I like that. That's a good one indeed.
It'll be better later, okay? give me version 2 in that one, it'll be fine. Jimbones in a battle with Candy Panda, trading damage back and forth.
And I definitely want to point out, Jimbones' condemns have been really good this matchup. He used it in the bottom lane to help fend off the gank by Hercubot, forced him back. Then once Hercubot did go for the taunt, he flashed over the taunt. A couple of moments later, he pins Hercubot to the wall, and again in that engagement, really just getting rid of Candy Panda, saying, do not want, please get away from me, and keeping distance from his opponent. The one thing that you do have to look at, 40 CS difference right now between both of these AD carries. And it's really going to be a lot of pressure picking these CS up under the tower because he cannot afford to fall further and further behind.
He is trying to sustain back up right now. He's just got that Vamp Scepter Doran's Blade plus an Alistar friend, trying to keep himself in decent shape. But you're seeing that number just really start to grow towards that one side. Hercubot, of course, uncontested in his jungle, and the gold lead now 800. It was only 200-300 before. It's getting larger and larger and larger, that lead. The only one that's really holding, well, actually mid lane are holding their own for Giants, but the top lane is also very close, 63 to 72. Samix is keeping up, though we're not watching very much.
So the pace of the game has slowed down just a little bit, you know, from that, you know, opening craziness and aggression.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it can happen from anywhere because there's so much kill potential from both of these teams in every single lane. You know, that's definitely something you have to remember. If Rumble manages to catch Zed with some Electro Harpoons and maybe a Rolling Thunder Fling from Volibear with the Equalizer on top, that is going to kill Kevin so incredibly quickly if he cannot get to safety. The moment, though, the focus is on the bottom lane as Morden is trying to help out Jim Bones, trying to help the hyper carry in their team, because really it's Vayne that's going to be required to carry this team once they get out of the laning and mid game.
Well, we'll see what ends up happening. Morden looked for a gank there, couldn't really find it, turned right back around while still in Fog of War. Samix, we see him heads up against Kevin. Kevin is winning this lane by a little bit, to be fair. He's up what's going to be about 9 minions after this one. 8, I think, is the actual number. Yeah, 8 minion difference right here as they equate themselves in minion waves, but I think that's where Giants need to get some pressure.
Yeah, that's so true. Interestingly about Kevin as well, he's got that Cutlass already, you know, straight out the gate, wants to work towards Blade of the Ruined King, but he's maxing both Q and E almost simultaneously. Chain lands onto Baveda, but that's mostly just to frustrate him. So Kevin Z, 3 points into his Q, 3 points into his E, after the previous game where we heard some strong words from Yamato Cannon saying, shouldn't max your Q. It's just interesting to see how the pros prefer to level the champs.
Yeah, basically right now, Kevin just seems to be wave clearing and doesn't want to get into an actual battle with Samix. So that's not really happening right there. Baveda blocks the death sentence right there, goes for the headbutt, pulverize. Oh, the condemn actually, I think, saved Nif. I think he was going to get headbutted back. So I think there's a bit of miscommunication there. Ocelot looking for a gank at the bottom lane, hops over the wall. He is behind the opposition. He's going to go right for this. Lands the shark, but Benta not in a good place. Pops the ult as well, but here comes Shed, but Benta's not in a great place. Tries to flash away. That's not going to be enough at all. And the taunt lands on a Jim Bones. Will they have the counterattack available? 2 for 0 so far. The root lands on an Extra. He's not in a good place. They're still chasing him down a little bit. Nope, double kill for Ocelot, and that's it.
That was such a good chain of corruption coming out from Candy Panda. It managed to lock up Jim Bones. It even transferred over to Exta. Thanks to locking him down and putting some DPS down, it allows SK to pick up the first outer tower in the bottom lane. Now they carry on the pressure on the inner tower. Morden and Samix are doing the best they can up in that top lane, but Ocelot, exactly where he needed to be at exactly the right time. Followed up with Stand United, 2 assists, 2 towers, and the bottom lane a complete and utter victory for Candy Panda and co.
Yeah, that was absolutely great for SK overall. We're now seeing Giants try to pick up the pieces of this one. They're not down terribly far, but here comes a push onto Morden. A lot of damage on him. Ignite off as well. Will the tick be enough? It is. Popped out there by Kevin, only at level 10. Rumble goes off, but it's not enough to kill Kevin, but he might just dash in for this one. But the flash away from Kevin keeps him alive here. And of course, Dragon also picked up for SK Gaming.
That is a massive advantage now for SK in terms of global objectives and gold. Just from the towers and the Drakes alone, you're talking around 3,000 gold. Ocelot still not had enough. He's going on Exta.
Now he does get, you know, Caston does run away from that one. However, you're seeing 93 to 81 on the scoreboard for minions. 3-0 and 2 to 0-2 and 2. So a 3 kill, 2 death lead there as well. And kind of across the board, you're seeing slight to large advantages for all the SK Gaming players. This early game is definitely going their way.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. You can see Ocelot 2,000 gold in his back pocket. Just going to go and start finishing up some items. I'd like to see what he does decide to purchase. He's got a lot of options available to him. We see Hercubot as well picking up those boots of mobility on Shen. So really wants to be the ganking map presence jungler right now. And you know, when your team's ahead, if you can be in the right place at the right time to either counter gank or set your team up for a successful defense, obviously you're going to hold that lead, and that's what it's all about.
And we'll see if Giants can turn that one around themselves. It's the blue buff getting focused down right now. See a damage output coming from Extra. Picks that one up. 85 minions on him. Has a shiny blue buff. Hasn't actually gone tier like we've seen from a lot of the other Castans so far. Is just going for the early Rod of Ages. It may hurt his late game AP. Put some damage on Ocelot. Does get his death sentence, though. Looks like they won't go in for it, though.
Yeah, there's not enough support there for SK Gaming to really pick that fight. Even though they caught Kassadin out, they didn't want to jump in on that one. A major pickup was collected by Candy Panda in that bottom lane. Infinity Edge completed at 13.5 minutes. So no pressure, bro. That's so much damage. 3 members of SK now looking to pick a fight. And thanks to Ocelot getting 3 kills, they've caught out Extra. They're not going to go in this time. He's wave clearing with a single playful Trickster. This early in the matchup with all that ability power means it's going to be very difficult to continue sieging with that very good wave clear from Fizz and, of course, from Varus once he starts defending.
You just saw Candy Panda's wave clear right there, of course, doing a great job. Jimbone's trying to keep up by taking away these double golems, but you're seeing 70 to 125. That minion kill lead actually growing over time. And you see, because of that, 4,000 to 5,400. 4,500 is the gold right there. Just between the AD carries, Candy Panda is certainly a much more massive force here.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Just that Infinity Edge in comparison to the Vamp Scepter, it's chalk and cheese. You see that Kevin has just picked himself up his Blade of the Ruined King. That's going to be helping him out when he decides to go aggressive, get that additional pop damage from the Death Mark. And as long as Nif keeps catching out Extra's Kassadin with those death sentences, he's going to be sentenced to death when these team fights happen because he's been caught 2 for 2 in that mid lane. Members of SK are roaming around. They're about to find a bear in the woods, and you don't know if they want to pick that fight.
Well, the fish ends up being interesting. The hunter has become the hunted as the fish actually dealing more damage to the bear, despite being the staple diet. And we can see the SK have grouped up 4 strong in this mid lane. Of course, Zed, Kevin just sitting there to split push up against Samix. And this turret might be going down very, very shortly. Looks like no one from Giants trying to stop that at all. And another structure topples here. This is SK definitely in control.
3 towers to 0, 1 dragon to 0, and a kill lead, a gold lead, an item lead. Every single metric is in SK Gaming's favor. They fail the headbutt and they catch for better.
And look at that. The death center was so good. It's a death paragraph. They're going to start in another fight. Morden rooted in place, and he goes down. And look at that, another turret going.
The turret is now down. They're going to carry on with the fight. Chum the Waters used to hold them in place. Atlantean Fizz is sinking the giant ship right now because there is nothing they can do to hold off the pressure from SK Gaming. They're on the inhibitor turret. The damage is going down from Candy Panda, and there is no one from Giants to respond. There is simply nothing that they can do at the moment.
I mean, they can do some damage to Candy Panda, drop him to half health, but that's really the only thing they can do right now is weaken SK and not quite follow through. Now an 8,000 gold lead here for SK Gaming. That is a significant clip. That's 40% more gold than what Giants have. That's a significant margin. I feel like significant is my word of the day, by the way.
It does look like it.
Samix going to be taking a significant amount of damage. Kevin going in for that one. Dashes forward. The Shadow barely even needed. Pops him up, but a nice assist for Hercubot.
Definitely. Getting that 5th assist on the board. It's also going to allow them to shove down that wave and try take the tower down. It's at around 50%. You've got to be a little bit careful of the chomp from Frenzy of Morden. It would have potentially risked Kevin his life. So nevertheless, they didn't decide to back away. It puts them to a 9-3 kill lead right now. And Varus, well, that Bilgewater Cutlass completed as well. So he's working towards his Blade of the Ruined King. He's caught Extra.
And look at the burst damage on him. The shark comes off. Actually, Extra not in the worst shape overall.
Did he rift walk the damage?
I feel like he rift walked the damage from the shark.
Did he rift walk the damage? We're definitely going to have to ask the analysis team to double check that one, because that left both of us speechless. That was a...
I blame Unso for not catching it.
That would have been a perfect timing on rift walk if that were to happen. So we'll definitely check that one out. It does appear that he rift walked it.
Wow.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. New one for me. I didn't even know you could do that.
I didn't either. And I thought like, oh man, his reflex is so bad. The shark came out. He didn't change courses at all. And then, well, color me silly, he got that one out really successfully. However, of course, it doesn't change what's happening in this game right now, which is Exterminare being kind of 1v1 against Candy Panda, which is something I think the AD carry is going to win. Ult comes off as well. Extra, I don't know if you can rip off the damage from this one. That's going to be a bit more difficult. Gets the slow. The flash comes out. He's still slowed. The E is going to be enough. Nice pickup there by Candy Panda.
Hail of Arrows too strong, allows him to pick up his 4th kill of the game. He used everything he had. Morton's picking a fight with Kevin, and I don't know if he should be doing that, but here comes Rumble.
Oh, the equalizer a little bit off, though. Doesn't even land much of a slow, and Kevin gets away. Of course, the haste he gets from Blade of the Ruin King also helping him out quite a bit. Of course, with all those resources to the top lane with extra dead, they know there's only 2 members at most who can answer this dragon, and they won't even try. SK Gaming gets another neutral objective.
Very well played again from SK Gaming. They had map presence, they had map awareness. Kevin drew some numbers, and it allowed them to safely and securely pick up their 2nd dragon of the game, extending that gold lead to almost 10,000 gold. And that's generally the breaking point. When teams get a 10k gold lead, you start feeling like, all right, it's basically their game to lose. And when you think about the damage and the power that Ocelot's Fizz has right now, with Chum the Waters being a little bit over 1 minute between each individual cast, anytime they want to go aggressive with Earth or with the Shark, as it were, in this battle, in this game, it's so much damage, so much CC, and you either run away and have no presence in the fight, or you get munched and nommed and go down. And Jim Bones is toying with his life at the moment.
A little bit. They did have a ward and knew that the team was off to the right-hand side. Looks like he's not getting jumped on just yet. Samek's trying to keep Kevin warm and keep him from killing the turret, but it seems that he's cold-hearted and wants to kill it anyway. The minion has slain that turret with a lot of help from Kevin. The minions are gone. He's going to keep shoving off that lane. Ocelot standing on top of a ward. No one's going to fall for that trap, buddy.
No, not right now. They do have some vision, so you have to compliment Giants' attempt to control the vision side of the game right now. They've had a lot of wards placed on their side of the map to try and, at the very least, keep tabs on where SK Gaming are and what they're doing. But it's not really affecting the match so much because they are so incredibly far behind. SK have stacked up as 4. Stand United is available for Hercubot if they want to pick a fight. And Samus is going to be careful. They've caught Extra.
And that's going to jump over to Morton as well. The ult comes off, trying to keep them off the turret. They're actually going for the fight on a Candy Panda. The ult comes off. He's trying to stay alive because of Shen. Nif does get a little bit of a knockback. Shark doesn't hit onto anyone. They're still going in. Morton gets a flip on Hercubot. The box comes down. Morton trying to run away. He's regenerating, and he might just live. The Ignite almost kills him. He does actually go down. Samek's not in a good place either. Jimbo's not in a good place either. He pops down to the death mark. And Babetta going to get dropped as well. 4 for nothing so far. Now Extra is alone. Can he get away from this one? He's looking for 1 extra kill, and he's going to find 1 on the Fizz, but he goes down 5-1 and triple kill for Kevin.
500 bonus gold does go into Extra's back pocket, but what a team fight from SK Gaming. It actually forces the surrender vote there. I do have to say that Babetta's headbutt got Kevin on the other side of the wall, which made me giggle just a little bit. Kicked him out the fight, but SK, what a performance. From the first blood to the control in the bottom lane. 1 mistake in terms of the fight of overextending, but other than that, it was their game in its entirety.
They played that one incredibly well. That looks like the SK, that's the number 3 team in Europe right now. Certainly a well-deserved victory. The handshakes, of course, on your screen once against Giants versus SK. SK came out rather convincingly in just 21 minutes. I mean, seriously, a great game from them. And the last little stretch of the season is looking good for them, I would say.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to help them out, getting those additional wins to try to close the gap between first, second, third. And if they don't lose anymore, their end of season statistics look potentially good.
They definitely have the shot overtaking first and second if things go a little bit south for the ones in top 2, but we'll see what ends up happening. But to break down this game, let's send it over to our lovely, glorious analyst desk. Joe and Jason, take it away.
Thanks a lot, Freak. So, SK Gaming coming out victorious here again, and honestly, it looked like another day at the office for them.
That was, I have to say, probably one of the easiest wins we've seen all weekend, and we've seen quite a bit of stomps, but, I mean, that was just a systematic play, just step by step by step. I mean, we saw actually some really cool play out of the Giants in level 1. They were able to pick up that first blood, but they picked a fight they really couldn't win in the end because we saw Candy Panda pick up 2 kills off of that and it just snowballed that bottom lane in the end.
Yeah, we can actually move straight into the replays for this one. And again, it's that last team fight, the Ace, which actually forced the surrender out of Giants.
Yep, I mean, go ahead and get that on your screen. As you just said, 20 minutes in. And it was a last-ditch effort of the Giants. They wanted to go for an attempted push in here. They had a 5v4 situation since we had Hercubot the bot lane. But as I will just show you, it kind of didn't work out for them in their own hand because Candy Panda got very low, so they made the call, let's go in. And it seems like they really wanted to go for that kill since it was so like they felt like they could actually go for that kill and get out safely. Morton gets very low right off the bat. You even see Babetta knock Hercubot over the wall as well as Ocelot jumping over. But Samex just gets very low from Kevin, and just one by one they will fall. It was just a snowball from items, a snowball from levels, a snowball just overall in that entire game. And SK, that was, like you said, another day at the office for him.
Yeah, what you were trying to say is it just snowballed, I think.
Yes.
Everything snowballed into an avalanche there by the end. So yeah, a really convincing win there by SK Gaming. Again, I don't want to take anything away from Giants because they did have some good plays in there, but right from the very get-go, from when they fell behind that Varus double kill right at the start of things, really started the avalanche, the snowball.
You heard Freak say, like, Ozone's is a really good team, but if they lose early on, they just seem to fall down from there. They just can't seem to get back in the game, and that's what happened right off the beginning. Yeah, and really using that surrender after 21 minutes, they knew that, after that fight where they really threw everything in, right, when they got ace, you can see that you're never going to come back from that kind of game, barring some slight miracle from that one as well. So obviously we'll be moving into our next game in just a little while, our final game of the day and of this wonderful weekend, with Wolves taking on Gambit. We heard a little bit from the test earlier on, but for now we're going to head over to the main stage where Shox is waiting with Kevin from SK in just a moment. Apparently not quite just yet, Jason. We're going to wait because what we didn't do is claim an MVP in that one. That's my bad. It's a little bit of both of us in the end. But, I mean, MVP of this game, we had to give it to Candy Panda. We've been talking about the entire time. He just, from the beginning of the game, getting those first 2 kills, and then just using that, saying, hey, I am way stronger than you right now. I'm going to keep you pushed up. I'm going to keep you pretty much backing as much as possible. He just used that early kill power to shut them down. Not to mention the red buff he did still right in the beginning. Just gave him too much power in the lane, and there's nothing Jimbones and Babetta could do about it.
Yeah, sadly enough for Giants, another loss, really adding to their worries right now, and obviously they're trying to stay in the LCS as we approach our 10th and final week. But now we really are going to head over to the main stage where Shox is waiting with Kevin from SK Gaming.
Yes, Kevin, impressive game here. You banned out 2 AD carries, Misfortune and Canon's Gyms. What you were most afraid of going into this one?
No, we weren't that afraid of him. We just know that he will probably first pick Volibear, so we just banned Misfortune, what he would play anyway. We kind of predicted that, so we just banned it.
Then for the level 1, Vayne got 1 kill there, got the first blood, so immediately, oh no, a Vayne with first blood. But then 2 for Candy Panda and almost another one for Ocelot. That didn't go exactly as planned.
Yeah, well, Hugbot sacrificed for the team, like he was manly and face checked. So that went kind of okay. That went at the end good for us. We turned it around. So I think at the end it was worth it. Yeah, Candy was really fed, and so we were happy.
All right, now you're in 3rd position, staying strong in 3rd position. Is there any of the teams that are below you that you think you would lose against?
I think we are a bit afraid about Copenhagen Wolves. They are really strong right now. They perform really strong. Yeah, Copenhagen Wolves.
All right. Now the All-Star voting, of course, you've been performing consistently very well. Not on top of that ranking though. So anyone in your team or yourself you want to promote for that?
Of course, I want to promote Candy Panda. Candy Panda is just really great guy, really great player, and I think he deserves that. Obviously, every one of my team deserves it. Like, they are kind of in my life now, so my family. So yeah, every one of us deserves it.
Okay, family. Nice to hear. Thank you very much, Kevin. All right, last week the Wolves nearly brought down Gambit Gaming, but couldn't close out the game. They'll get a second chance today, and that means we'll see Bjergsen going head-to-head with Alex Ish once again after the break.